I'd like to call to order the Tuesday, September 26th Park Board and Recreation Committee meeting. Let's please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Roll call, if you would, please, Mr. O'Shea.
Mike Moffett.
Here.
Cindy Suze.
Here.
Barb Tusley is absent. And Dave Biesel.
Present. Okay, hopefully Barb will get through the traffic and still get here, but we're going to continue. Item number 4, consent agenda A, claims. Mike.
Yeah, so in your packet there is just a list of all the claims for the month of September, equaling a total amount of $195,235.17.
I think most of us got these emailed to us in advance to take a look at if there was any questions. I know sometimes when it's in your small little phone, it's easy to overlook something, but looking at this, I see no issues. Anybody else have any issues?
No.
Okay. Then I will entertain a motion to accept the claims as posted for this time period, which is basically August through September 20, is it through September 14, 15?
Yeah, it's through September 15th.
Okay. As posted for the amount of $195,235.17.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Cindy. So I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor of accepting this as posted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Claims are passed. All right. Item B, minutes of the August 22, 2023 Park and Recreation Board meeting. Once again, I think we've had most of these minutes emailed to us ahead of time. If there are no questions concerning it, I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the August 22, 2023 Park and Recreational Board meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Cindy. Do I have a second?
I will second it.
Thank you, Mike. I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor of accepting the claims from August 22 of 2023 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Item C, minutes of the September 5, 2023 Park and Recreation Board study session. Once again, we got these minutes emailed to us. A couple of issues on there that were discussed. No real action was taken, but if there's anybody that has a question or concern about the minutes of that, well, it's open for discussion. If not, then I will entertain a motion to accept them as posted.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Cindy. So I have a motion and a second for the minutes from the September 5th, 2023 Park Recreation Board study session, and we will signify by saying aye if we approve. Aye?
Aye.
Okay. Any nays? None? Okay, it's approved. On to item number 5, new business, review of our 5-year Parks Recreation Master Plan proposal. Mike, if you would elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, sure. We had mailed out back on the 1st of September to 4 different firms RFP requesting for proposals for our updated Parks and Rec Master Plan. 2 of the firms did get back to us as far as reaching out, emailing, calls, as far as getting information. Everything was due as of 4 o'clock today. So we have the proposals that were submitted so far. So, and we only had one that turned in proposals as of 4 o'clock today. So this would be for our master plan going to 2020, our current master plan says 19 to 24, which is 6 years. We do got to, I think, figure that out. I'm not sure actually if the current one is through 2024, to be honest with you, or ending in 2024, because showing 6 years basically. But anyway, this will get us to our next 5-year plan that we would need to do.
And the reason we're doing this now is so that we can get some sort of a rough proposal done yet this year, correct?
Yes, yeah. Try to do this now, and then try to get a proposal by November, and to go through at the beginning of next year, and then get the official approval between everyone here, and with the IDNR as well, in April.
And the proposal we have received is from American Structure Point, which is the people that helped us out with some of the other stuff. So I think we have copies for everyone. Pass one down to Mike. Pass one down to Nicole. Have her take a peek at one. There's one for Joe. And I have Councilman Aurelio's not here, so I'll hold his, but I have one for him too. So Mike, if you would elaborate just a little bit on what we plan or what we think we need to do moving forward with this.
Briefly,
Sure.
Since you opened the proposal and that you announced that you have only one from American Structure Point, you just have to put on the record what is their proposed amount in their proposal,
Okay.
and then can proceed to discussing from there.
Page 57.
All right.
Obviously, it looks like they have various breakdowns here. Sorry, there you go. Obviously, it looks like it's various breakdowns here, but that overall their total compensation without any of the additional options is a lump sum of 10,000.
Okay.
Looks like those added options could increase that. I'm assuming these are cumulative, the 3, 5.
I think how they explained it
7.
Yeah.
originally was, that some of these other options are basically in our court to make.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that could increase up to 17,000, is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
That's how
Very
I
good.
understood it.
Sorry, just wanted to get that on the record, and then please
Yeah.
proceed.
So, we obviously were working with them for the park impact fee, also the needs assessment study. For the park impact fee, we did our own needs assessment back last year, basically, that we kind of went back and forth with. We submitted that to them while doing the park impact fee, which they had used in their work. For the park impact fee, they had, I think it was a fee of $65,000. Because of that work that we had done, they came back to us and said, basically, they didn't need to go up to that $65,000 because of the work that we had basically done as a board and as a staff. So we do have a little bit from that particular contract. We do have some, I won't say savings in a sense, but we're not going to be spending out the $65,000. So, which is good, which is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So, if we go this route, we would have to obviously close out that project. That would, in a sense, free up that money that was left. I believe there was 29,000. If I have to go back and double check, but I think it was 29.9. If I didn't write it down here in my notes, but I believe it was 29.9, and then whatever we would use that what's left over basically what was in the appropriations for 2023, and then basically use that additional I think they had $10,000 here for to add on to that cost. That makes sense.
you would encumber those funds this year for next year, is that?
Yes, yeah, we would free up the money that was from the park impact fee, we free that, close that out, free up that money. And it's already appropriated, and so we wouldn't have to do any, additional appropriations. And then obviously, I think we actually could then do just a transfer, a resolution transfer more than likely to the consulting from what we have now appropriated, just to cover that, 10 grand. So we necessarily wouldn't need to go out for additional appropriation, of what, to do this project.
That's true, good.
Okay, and what is your opinion on some of the optional issues that we have?
Well, before I had mentioned that I thought it was a good idea to, to look at some of the options. A second online, they're going to do one survey. They had here a second online survey, which, the more information you have, the better, the better will, the better you're going to get back from everyone. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea. There was 2 extra additional meetings. I don't necessarily think we need both of them, but having an additional meeting just to get further information, further contact going back and forth, I don't think would be a bad idea. Now, if we did go with any of those options, though, as I just said, we wouldn't need to go additional appropriation for if we did the initial proposal, but we would more likely, if we added the options, would have to probably go out for additional appropriation, showing that it's an additional $8,000.
If we went all the way.
If we went all the way.
Let's just say with 2 of the 3, then it would be.
Yeah, and I would guess too, if we would talk with Structure Point as well, we probably could add those along the way as well. That probably could be something we can add on if we want the additional information too.
Well, I think moving forward, I'd like to know what our costs are so that we're walking into something and not going, oh, by the way, we need this is gonna cost us more, and we're
Yeah.
going back after the fact. I personally don't think 3 public involvement meetings are needed. I could see a second based on their, optional thing. The online survey thing, I'm not opposed to either, but I don't think we would need that 3rd public involvement meeting. I think 2 would be sufficient. Cindy, Mike, either one of you have a problem with any or all? I mean, would you prefer to go with the streamlined version? Or would you just, do you see where any of these optional things are something that we should at least address, or?
What is the total? I'm kind of confused with the numbers, how they have it listed here.
Well, the total for everything is $35,000. That's what the total of the entire project, up on top, everything in blue here that they're showing here.
Together?
Right.
Lump sum of what they would have to do. So, we would still have to do RTP and all that stuff, showing the $35,000, just like we did the park impact fee and the needs assessment. So the total is $35,000. What they were saying even before was that we would possibly have the additional $10,000. So I know I said 29 before, so then it's I'm just trying to look up on my notes here. So that we should be closer than the $25,000 of that $65,000 that would be available, basically.
Correct. So if we took this proposal as posted here and added nothing, we're looking at roughly spending between $5,000 and $10,000 of unappropriated funds at this point, based on what we have with them now that wasn't used, and what we would have to spend on top. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And any additional optional things would be an additional cost.
Yeah, that red option down there would be any of the additional costs.
Okay.
Which again, we can add at a later point as well if we decide we want to get more
Does that
information.
answer your question, Mike?
I think so.
Okay.
So again, we would have to close out Park Impact, finalize that.
Correct.
Free that up in a sense, close out the RTP, and then open up, do an RTP for the clerk's office, for this. And that RTP would show 35,000. It's not going to show 10, but it will show the 35,000
Correct.
based on what's available. What's available then from the appropriation.
And it looks like this is a 27-week project, so you're talking, 6 months.
Yeah. Well, I think we needed, by June to have the actual proposal?
June was for the land and water grant. That was the next, if we wanted to submit anything for in a sense for 2025. We would need it by June 1st, but we needed it to be done basically by April to get our approvals and then to send to the IDNR as well. They normally do a draft in November. That's why we had mentioned
Correct.
let's try to get something if possible.
So do you think we need to move on this month so that we get some of that work completed by then?
Well, I mean, always the quicker you start, the better, obviously, and stuff. I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea.
You guys were ready to act on this at
Yeah,
the
I mean-
Were,
previous
yeah.
meeting. Yeah, but I know there was an issue with the requirement for the RFP.
Correct.
Yeah. And I don't know what had to do with the amount or if it was just because of the scope of the project.
Well, I think
Yeah.
Scope,
it was the scope of the project, right?
the
Yeah.
scope.
Okay. All right. Any other further discussion by anybody on the board on, do we have a particular package in mind? Does anybody oppose any of these optional things or not want to include them or include them all? I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. I just gave you my opinion. I don't think 3 public involvement meetings are necessary. I think if we have 2, that would be sufficient. But I do like to have a second one because there's going to be some
Sure.
back and forth rhetoric on what we need to do and how we need to do it. So if we included underneath the optional task, the first 2, public involvement meeting and the second online survey, that would be an increase of $5,000 for a total of 40. Correct, Mike, if I'm understanding that?
Say that again, from the bottom 2.
If we take the top 2 of the optional tasks, that's an additional $5,000 on top of the $35,000 for the actual study, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So that would be a total of $40,000.
Yes, correct, yep,
Okay.
yep.
Everybody understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Then I will entertain a motion to use American Structure Point for our master plan of the Parks and Recreation Board for the next 5 years for a total amount, including 2 of the optional tasks, of $40,000.
So moved.
And can you amend that motion to authorize either the director to sign the agreement, execute the agreements with Structure Point, or you can sign them, however you guys want to do that, pending legal review?
Nicole, do you have an I mean, is this something Mike could do?
Oh, yes, if you give him authority.
Okay.
You just have to, in the public meeting, give him authority to execute based upon your decision tonight in accepting that proposal.
Okay.
Pending legal review.
Yes, of course, pending legal review.
All right, so then I will amend my motion pending legal review to give Superintendent O'Shea the right to sign off with American Structure Point on this venture for the amount of $40,000.
So moved.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I will second
I
that.
have a second. So I have a motion, I have a second. Thank you both, and we will have a vote. All in favor of this signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we're good based on legal overlook. Superintendent O'Shea can sign off on this so we can get this moving forward and hopefully get some sort of a rough draft by November, which is kind of where our timetable is on that. Okay. Independent contract agreement, youth soccer program. I don't know if this is Mike or if this is Pat. What?
I can start it and Pat fill in if you have anything on there. But so as you know, we did start that youth soccer program. We have a K through first grade league, and then we also have some individuals, grades 2, 3, and 4. We didn't, we were looking actually not to cancel anything, which basically we didn't, which is a good thing. But Pat happened to correspond with a soccer coach. And so that we didn't have to cancel that class, we had reached out to this particular soccer coach individual, asking him to run the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade class to give a little more instruction, so it would be more of a program style than kind of a league style, while still participating in the league as the league schedule shows and stuff. So This particular agreement would be for $360, which would cover the length of the season.
So
And
the current season?
the current season.
Okay, and
Yeah.
this encumbers all the kids that are currently signed up for the program, or is this a special?
The second, third, and fourth.
No, but I mean,
graders.
and how big is is it just second, third, and fourth graders, or do we have an expanded?
He is one of the coaches for the K through first grade as well. He's one of the coaches there, and
That's
then
more-
he is doing an independent contract because, like Mike was saying, there was only 9 athletes in the second, third, and fourth grade, and
Okay.
instead of canceling the league and refunding, what we decided to do is we talked to Coach Contreras here, and he is training and then doing a scrimmage on Saturdays with a game style referee 4-on-4.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Any questions from the board on this?
And we are doing background checks.
We are doing background checks.
Well, I guess with the funds that we've taken, is that going to cover the cost of this agreement, or is this an additional cost?
Yes, yes.
It covers, so yeah, at $65 for this season, and then there's 9 in there, that's $585.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Yeah, we have a breakdown of it all. I can email that out.
No, it's
but-
not, my point is, we're not asking for additional funds.
No, yeah.
We're
Yeah,
just
just-
using the funds allocated to cover
What we
this.
brought in for the league, so. And then there's a couple pictures down there, just so you can see, but if you want to come out, they play on Saturdays.
Saturday mornings,
Over at Gates Park.
What time are they out there?
9 a.m.
9 o'clock, and then the second through fourth grade are at 10, or 9:45, so.
Thank you.
Picture days this weekend, so if you really want to
So
get out.
you want action from us to approve that contract?
Yes, because we have the agreement here, I just would need to have your signature on there.
Okay.
So
So then
but
I
yes,
will
a mo-
entertain a motion to take an independent contract with Jim Contreras, is that his name? Okay, for soccer actual training and coaching for the amount of $260. That is based out of the.
$360.
At 360.
Or $360, I'm sorry, $360 out of the money that's already been encumbered for the soccer program for this age group.
I
Yeah,
will make,
it's not necessarily encumbered, I guess, but it would just be within like the appropriations that we have now and stuff, so, just to be clear.
I will make that motion.
Okay, I have a motion from Cindy. Do I have a second?
I will second it.
Thank you, Mike. All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So that passes. Okay, that takes care of new business. Old business, might as well stay up there, Pat. Give us a, give us a review of Christmas in the park.
Well, I'll touch upon sort of everything that we're doing right now because myself and Rebecca, we are Halloween people, so I want to touch upon Halloween and
That's fine.
forget October. So coming up in October, we have a couple different things here. Our Boo Bash is coming up on on October 21st out at Prairie West Park. That will be from 9 to noon. That's the one that we've been doing. It's an annual events that we have been doing out at the Prairie West Park. We're doing something a little bit different this year. We're separating the two because traditionally Trunk or Treat has been on that same day. We are now moving Trunk or Treat to the next weekend on the 28th. It's a Saturday the 28th, from 4 to 6 out at Lake Central parking lot where the farmers market will be. We'll be doing Trunk or Treat and a haunted trail. We have now moved our haunted trail from the 13th to that weekend. I just want to tell everybody here before I start blasting that out on our social media sites. So we'll be doing a haunted trail that night on the 28th, and then from 6 to 8 we'll be featuring Goosebumps, the film, still all out at Lake Central. So that's on the 28th, the 21st, the 28th. And then going into what we were talking about for Christmas in the Park. We do have 6 events planned out for Christmas in the Park, starting off right on that Black Friday, the 24th, I believe, for our Festival of Lights. And what St. John has done in the past. It's that's where we're have a fireworks show going off on that night. Santa will be there. We'll have vendors, and obviously that's when we're going to highlight all the businesses and organizations that have helped sponsor the event. And we are still doing the Christmas decorating, the tree decorating. I apologize for that. We've been getting sponsorships in all month for that, so we're off to a good start. We got about a little over 30 so far. Our goal is 100 to 120, depending on trees and availability. But yeah, so right now most of the events are going to be on on Thursday nights throughout the month of December, except for CSRI Christmas is going to be on a Wednesday where they do pictures. The Special Recreations organization will do pictures on a Wednesday night. Like I said, our opening ceremony is on a Friday night, and then we do have one event that will be a Saturday, so for families and obviously.
And are we going to somehow post this agenda so that the public knows?
Yeah, so I was basically waiting for after this meeting to go ahead and start blasting that out on social media, just so we can have all our ducks in a row. And we've been coordinating with both the fire department, with Santa's, with our volunteer corps group. So we've wanted to make sure we had all our ducks in a row before we started really blasting anything out on social media. But yes, that campaign will start up here within the next week.
Okay. Yeah, because I think the earlier we get it out there, the better. Anybody have a question about that? Now, we're kind of taking on this event this year, so I'm sure it's going to be mostly the same from what it used to be, but I'm sure we'll throw a few twists on it. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, traditionally trying to keep what has been there with the, obviously, getting the town involved and whoever wants to be involved with decorating. And I mean, like I always say in any one of my social media posts, volunteers are always welcome. And you know, anybody who wants to be a part of this event, we'll glad to have them out there. Yeah.
any other questions? Okay, thanks, Pat. All right, 2024 Parks and Recreation Budget. Mr. O'Shea.
All right, yeah, so this is on here, and if we need a little more time to look at it, that's fine as well. But last Thursday night at the town council meeting, we did go over the town's budget as a whole, including the Parks and Rec. So we made a little small little presentation about everything, basically the same stuff that was talked about on September 5th at our study session. So so just attached basically again is the budget for the Parks and Rec as shown at the town council meeting on the the study session this past Thursday. There is a slide in there in the packet, should be on the second page, just kind of give you a step for step of what's next. Tomorrow it is supposed to, the budget as a whole is supposed to be over with the council at their meeting to do their initial voting on. We did talk about recommending the budget, and I do think everything that's proposed in here meets efficiently meets our needs. So either we could, you want to take more time to look it over, we can do it in October. Otherwise, if we're comfortable doing it now, we can go ahead and make the recommendation now. But again, this is the same thing that was shown to you September the 5th. There were some adjustments at the 100 level admin part of it that had to be changed and stuff. But otherwise, nothing else had changed off of there. So attached in the packet too was just I updated the slides for the 100 items, category 1 items as well in there. So, but otherwise, everything will go tomorrow night at the town meeting.
And that's just first reading, right, Joe?
That's correct. So we're doing the first reading on the budget and appropriation ordinance for tomorrow. So
But officially, it'll be probably the October meeting where it's all
October
buttoned up.
25th will be the adoption of the
Okay.
ordinance and the budget. So, yeah.
I mean, we've talked about it at our study session. I see no reason why not to recommend what we put together now. I mean, rather than literally the day before
Right.
they have that vote, so,
That would be preferred.
yeah, I would think so. So, I mean, I will entertain a motion then to recommend the 2024 Parks and Recreation budget as posted by Superintendent O'Shea as a favorable recommendation to the town council for their view and also their adoption.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. So this is just a recommendation based on our looking at everything, and I will entertain that motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. So this will be our positive or recommendation moving forward to the town council. Okay. Item number C, youth ball field lease agreement. All right, we had in the spring talked with some of the people involved, the youth baseball, youth softball. I asked legal then to look over our agreement that we've had because it was a few years old, and if there was any amendments that needed to be made, I believe she did that. And Nicole, if you would, give us a report on what you have.
Absolutely. I did review, as you had requested, both the baseball and softball lease agreements that the town currently has with both of those organizations. And specifically, that's the 2016 lease agreement between the town and St. John Baseball. And that provides for the priority use of the baseball fields at Heartland Park. Likewise, I reviewed the 2012 lease agreement between the town and the St. John Girls Softball League for, as well, the priority use of the softball fields that are also located at Heartland Park. Before I get specifically into the legal analysis, I kind of want to just update all of you as to those requirements, or I'm sorry, not the requirements, as to the specifics of those contracts and what was actually bargained for at that time. I'll start with the baseball lease. The baseball lease was entered into as a 25-year contract that was executed February 25th of 2016. That agreement itself, signatories to that contract were both the town officially by the town council, the town council president, the president of the Department of Parks and Recreation for the town. Those two combined were the lessors on the lease. So together by agreement, agreed to lease to specifically the St. John Youth Baseball, St. John Youth Baseball Incorporated, which is a not-for-profit organization. As I said, it was a 25-year term from 2016 to 2041, so clearly still in place as of today. The consideration for the lease, the St. John Youth Baseball agreed to pay $1 per year, and as well to make certain improvements at Heartland Park. They also identified that they would provide public baseball programs for children and any related activities. Specifically, as I said, the lease was executed by the town council president. That was done on February 26th of 16, the park board president the same day, and the St. John Youth Baseball registered agent and secretary. The date on the contract is actually February 29th, 2015. The prior year, I'm presuming that perhaps that was a typo, but it is typewritten on the document, so taking it on its face, which legally we're supposed to do, arguably that was executed a year prior and then approved, in 2016 by the town. The agreement itself, as to the signatories, states that the town council considered the lease at their public meeting on February 25th of 2016, and that they voted to approve the lease by a vote of 5-0. This becomes important in the analysis of what occurred here. The park board signed the lease on February 26th, 2016. And as to the park board's activity, the lease agreement is silent. Does not indicate whether or not the park board approved this at a public meeting or what mechanism or process that it went through before the park board for approval. specifically reviewed the minutes that are referenced in the meeting, and the contract as to the approval by the park board and as to approval by the as to approval by the town council. It is reflected, there are town council minutes from your February 25th, 2016 that do indicate that that contract was considered and approved. I reviewed minutes throughout 2015 and throughout 2016. There's no reference at all that this contract ever came before the body, the park board, for review at a public meeting. Similarly, the softball lease, in many ways, it was entered previously, obviously in 2012, specifically February 13th of 2012. That contract was mirrored almost identically by, or in 2016, by baseball. That likewise is between the town council and the park board, both as the lessors on the property combined together. And St. John Girls Softball League, which is also a not-for-profit organization, is the lessee on that. Again, 25-year term. This one, however, went from September 13th of 2012 to September 13th of 2037. So again, still incorporated and considered and honored here today. The rent on the softball lease, $1 per year plus girls softball, was to make certain improvements to Heartland Park and to provide public softball programs and related activities. The lease was executed by the town council president on September 26th of 2012, park board president the same day, and the St. John Girls Softball president likewise on September 26, 2012. In this agreement, there is a similar paragraph that references the approvals by the town council. It indicates that the agreement was approved by the town council at a public meeting on a day that is left blank. The lease also states that the town council approved the agreement by a vote in favor with a blank line and a vote against with another blank line. Nothing referencing what that vote was. Clearly anticipated that it would be filled in the contract, but in this situation wasn't. For what it's worth, the town council meetings for that, in fact, it was over 2 meetings, August 23rd of 2012, there's specific reference in the town council meeting that they considered an initial lease to the St. John girls softball. And there's a reference in the minutes that it was considered and approved unanimously. That was on August 23rd, 2012. And then again, at the next meeting on September 13th of 2012, they made some amendments to that, even though the contract apparently wasn't drafted yet, but then considered that contract a second time. And likewise, there's reference in those minutes that it was actually approved at a public meeting of the town council. Park board, once again, as I said, contract is silent, and my review of minutes over those years of 2012 and 2013, there is no reference again to that consideration ever having been given to this contract, let alone action taken to approve it. There are other items within this contract that are legally inaccurate. There's errors, there's inconsistencies, but for purposes of looking at the contract in and of itself, those things, although are important, individually pale in comparison to what is the legal process that it is my opinion to was not followed here for either of these contracts, the 2016 baseball or the 2012. Under Indiana law, the town council and the park board, all of you together, are the governing agencies or the governing bodies for the town council. I'm sorry, for the town, being the town council is the governing body, and you as the park board are the governing body for the Department of Parks and Recreation. That's set out by statute. And as you know, just as you've approved everything here tonight, it is, right, a public approval at a public meeting that is properly advertised, at a meeting when a quorum of you are present, at a vote that is properly motioned, or I'm sorry, a motion that is properly made and seconded, and a vote by a majority of the body. That's your legal requirement to take any legal action, and that is put upon you by the Indiana Open Door Law. It requires that all public entities or public agencies, public bodies, have to do everything out in the open, in the public, for review, consideration, so that basically taxpayers are aware and see everything that's happening by these bodies that receive federal and state tax dollars. The action in reviewing and considering and approving these contracts, the park board and the town council together had and have the authority to contract to lease public parks, to lease public land. Specifically, the park board has the authority to not only lease its own property, but there is this caveat under the law that allows for the park board to lease property that is owned by a public agency, the public body, so basically the town of St. John, if it's in a park. Because you, as the entity that, or as the body that runs and manages, and because park funds go to fund those parks, the law allows for the park board to contract to lease property owned by a town, a city, a township, so long as it's in a park. And not only does it allow you to do it, it allows you to do it without having to publish that you're going to do so in the newspaper, and as well without going through the bid process that the town would otherwise have to go to lease property in and of itself. One of those issues, or one of those situations that give the authority because of it being a non-for-profit organization. The park board then clearly had the authority to enter into the contracts, and I propose to you that had it been done properly, I'd be having a different discussion with you right now, perhaps about a few of the other concerns that I have with the contracts, but that are not as glaring as this. The requirements, however, under the Indiana Open Door Law requires that any time that the park board or the town council wants to enter into a contract, they want to take official legal action, that this has to be done both in a public meeting to not only approve the contract, but also to give authority to authorize the official or a member of the board to sign contracts, much like you did tonight, in giving your superintendent permission to sign contracts. He can't just go and do that on his own unless it's otherwise set forth in bylaws, ordinances, things of that nature. As I already said, the Indiana Open Door Law requires that the official action by the public agencies be taken in public meetings. And just to kind of break this down a little bit further, by statute, official action is defined as making any decision and taking final action. Final action is a vote by the body on any motion, proposal, resolution, rule, regulation, ordinance, or order. And obviously it gets very specific into that, but you clearly need to have the action in approving a contract. That action would have to be made by a motion to approve it accordingly. In consideration with these contracts, because the town council and the park board together entered into the contracts as the lessors in 2012 with softball and in 2016 with baseball, these procedures needed to be followed. And assuming that for purposes of this discussion tonight, that everything else was done properly in the coordinations, the considerations, the things that make up a contract, which are separate issues. The authority to proceed on this had to, or required, approval by both bodies in a public meeting. My review of the record, my review of this is that clearly this was not approved by the park board, nor was it ratified, meaning in either of these contracts, was it ratified at a later date by the park board in a public meeting that was properly advertised, that a quorum was present, motion properly made and seconded, and a majority vote. Had that been done even after the fact, to ratify the action of the presidents of the park board, or the president of the park board executing both of these contracts, we'd be having a different discussion. Under Indiana law, the open door law, as well as the case law of courts as high as to the Supreme Court of Indiana, have mandated that the failure of all contemplated parties to accept and to sign a written agreement or a contract renders the agreement invalid on its face. If the proper process is not followed, it's not even a matter of then having this contract be something that can later be action, or action can be taken on, or that you'd have to do something to void it. It is invalid. It is a void agreement in and of itself because it was not properly followed. So the questions that have arisen about how these are applied, how they're affected today, what can be done with them, what cannot be done with them, it is my legal opinion to you that these contracts are as though they never existed. There's not an action or a violation, if you will, of them as we sit here today because they are invalid. Consequently, I would propose to you that as this board sitting here today, you have full authority to, as I said, you have the authority to lease, rent, bargain for parkland. If it's to a non-for-profit organization, you have full ability to do that. If it's not, then there's other procedures that have to be followed. But it is my recommendation, my legal opinion, that you motion or make a motion tonight to accept my legal opinion, so that there is, although in this situation not officially required, but I do think it keeps the record clean. If you are accepting that and adopting that in the acceptance that these agreements are invalid, and that opens the door for you to figure out what you want to do moving forward. If you want to renegotiate, again, with new parties, I know there's been discussion about or requests made to lease property or rent fields to other entities within the town, even to third parties. That is your objective, your option, if you choose to take it. And that then puts the ball in your court of how you want to treat St. John teams versus outside teams, or if you want to keep these, parks to complete public use and not enter into any agreements. But based upon what was requested of me and my opinion on this, these parties are not bound by these agreements because they were never valid to begin with.
So Nicole, you're asking for the Parks Board to void these agreements ab initio based on your legal opinion?
Or accept my legal opinion that they are void.
Right.
Since the action isn't officially needed because the law is very, very clear.
Okay.
I think that it just was
So basically,
Frankly, an
just a
oversight
motion to
years
accept
ago.
the legal opinion.
that the agreements are void, and then for you as a board to determine how you wish to proceed forward in entertaining some public discussions on, what it is that the town wants, what it is this board wants to do in proceeding forward. Obviously, there is some concern.
I'm still trying to process all of that. It's like, wow. I mean, very.
It's a lot. It's been a lot.
Yeah, you did a very good job
It's
in
been a
researching
lot.
the back history on that.
And I think that.
Gave a very good presentation on that as well.
Thank you. I mean, if you have questions, by all means, but it kind of narrows it into the sum and substance of what it is. Obviously, in moving forward, as you as the board, if this is something that you want to proceed with, clearly the steps and actions that this board would take, I can, assure is I will give you advice that's in line with the law so that you're obviously not in the same situation at some point down the road. For what it's worth, you can enter into lengthy terms. You can enter, the park board can enter into contracts up to 40 years. You can enter into contract more than a year without, as long as it's to a not-for-profit, without taking things to bid. In this circumstance we talked about tonight. I mean, so there's many different options that you have. It's just making the determination and moving forward how you want to proceed. Obviously, parties have acted and are relying upon this currently. I believe there's a few weeks left of the fall season. So I think my encouragement would be to hopefully take some action on this so that it's not impairing or impeding what is the intention for the spring, so that this become a priority. But yes, Joe, I would request a motion accordingly, just to keep the record clear. And
So we're making a motion on your opinion. And then part of that is, this is based that we can't find the minutes of when the park board approved this contract.
oh, no, it's not that we can't find the minutes. I've been through all the minutes. They're there, they
But they said you
exist.
couldn't find anything where the park board
There's not any-
agreed on it.
There's not, it didn't happen in the minutes. Assuming that the minutes
That's what I'm saying,
are,
so you didn't find the minutes that said it wasn't agreed on. So your opinion is the park board never agreed with this back then.
correct. Well, that it was never approved in a public meeting as required by Indiana
Now we're
Open
gonna
Door Law.
completely destroy the St. John Youth Baseball League
Well, no, I didn't
because
say
of
that.
somebody's opinion, when nobody's had a problem with it for 10 years, 8 years, whatever it's been. But somebody's digging now and trying to something's happening here, because I'm not sure what's going on. Nobody's had an issue with this. And there was a little bit of hiccup because they brought out an outside organization, changed the name or whatever.
Well, that's what caused the inquiry into,
But what I'm saying is, obviously, the town council voted on this, the park board obviously agreed on it.
I don't
But
know
we're-
that. I can't legally
But
tell you
that's
that.
why this is your opinion. So we're gonna take your opinion and just completely dissolve St. John Youth Baseball, change all the rules.
Well, I'm not giving an opinion on
I'm
what
just saying,
happened.
I don't agree with that. I don't
Understand.
think
I'm just
that's
trying to
right.
answer you.
What's that?
I'm just trying to answer you. I'm
Right.
not giving an opinion on what happens with St. John Youth Baseball. I don't have anything to do with it. This park board nor the town council has anything to do with youth baseball, right? They're their own separate entity. What, in dissolving that or something, I don't believe in any way my legal opinion as to this, has effect on that, because as I indicated, the fact that this is not a valid contract puts the ball in your court to proceed on what you want to negotiate and what you want to do in moving forward.
I think we just need to clean it up, is what
You need an enforceable agreement
Right,
that has
right.
costs and expenses.
I don't think anyone here
and
sitting on
responsibilities
this up
and-
here, or anyone out here wants to, just say,
You can't have it willy-nilly
I
out
think
there.
it needs to be done, and we just need to correct the mistake, the lack of action or whatever, and make sure it's
So basically, we're
formalized.
missing, the park board never agreed on the contract that the town council voted on.
At a meeting is what she was
public
saying.
The park board did not
So
approve
could
it.
we just make that vote and approve that from 2016 backlog and say, we approve on what they approved in 2016 and just keep it as is, and this would be a public meeting, and we vote all in favor, yes?
Well, I don't think she would recommend that.
I would not recommend you do that for various reasons, but legally, could you ratify a prior contract? I'm not aware that there's a time, the law says that it is a reasonable time.
Well, we just discovered it, so what's reasonable?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think it turns into an issue, but is there a question there that a contract can be ratified after the fact? Absolutely. There's, legally that can happen. I wouldn't recommend ratification of anything, years later by the mere fact of in looking at it, because your ratification is based on current day, so obviously it would have to be compliant with current law. I can't speak to that as of terms and all of that. I wasn't looking at the contract for that.
But wouldn't we just be approving the contract that was written in 2016?
You are, but your action is today, so it would have to be ratified under current law today. It's not retroactive to 2012 or 2016 law. So if there is something in there, and like I said, I can't speak to whether or not that's the case because I wasn't looking at it in regard to those terms. I was looking at it in regard to the requests that were made on, other people coming in and all of that, which turned into who the parties are, and that's what, led in this sense of what was the communication and what was the discussion on that at those meetings.
I think if we're gonna basically redo the agreement, we redo the agreement with the same, under the same terms that were already agreed to back in 2012 and 16?
Those are the dates of the two
Yeah.
agreements, yes. And that's the option of this board.
Right.
Of
right.
what you want
I mean,
to
that might be
proceed in
something you
moving
guys
forward.
would want to consider. I mean,
But for me to
I
give
don't
an
know. It's
opinion
not
on
my
whether or
decision.
not parties are compliant or action can be taken in reliance on an agreement or on a lease that was never properly approved,
yeah.
I can't even get to giving that opinion because it's not a valid contract. So
I
you
mean,
can't
I'm
rely on an
hearing about
invalid
this the first time,
agreement.
and I'm like you, yeah, you can't just gut the organization.
But if it was found, say they found this documentation that was signed off by the park board, then this would be a
No,
moot
you're
point.
missing what I'm saying.
I know.
I have looked through all the meeting minutes. There's not missing meeting minutes.
Yeah, I get it.
So you can't just have had a separate document, a separate letter, it has to have happened in a properly advertised meeting, publicly held.
So they just never drew up a
Ratified it.
contract
Proper
like how.
procedure. I think we're talking proper procedure.
We're talking, it never came before the park board.
I'm
It
sure
doesn't matter.
I'm sure they voted on it, but they probably never formally signed off on it or something.
Nope, you're wrong.
So you're
Apologize.
saying the park board's like, okay, go ahead and go away.
I don't know what the
baseball.
park board did.
That's what I'm
the
saying.
contract-
And again, that's my opinion, just
The contract is signed
by the
but
park board
there's-
president, right?
by the park board president. But
So
the
I would-
park
I
board
would think
president,
the park board approved it. I don't know, it's, again,
Should
it's.
be minutes that
the
prove it.
park board president just has
like
to
I said, I
have the
don't know.
authority to sign.
All right.
And that has to be done in a public meeting, and looking through all of those minutes, the action wasn't taken.
Nicole, if we accept your recommendation and make these contracts invalid, then it would be up to us to hold this public meeting, correct? So that we could, for lack of a better word, reissue them?
The contracts themselves?
Yes.
Well, my opinion, whether you take action on my opinion or not, my opinion doesn't change, and legally, you don't need to take action.
But if we did, that's what I'm saying.
Sure.
If we followed your recommendation and said, okay, the contracts are void, what steps to comply with legal?
I would let them finish out their seasons
Oh,
for sure.
absolutely.
So I
Yes.
would
Absolutely.
take action to allow them to finish out their seasons and then get the contracts redone, have them formalized, approved, have both sides agree to it, and
Well, don't we need a public meeting?
sounds pretty
Properly
simple,
done.
but
You have to have a public meeting to hear, discuss, and not so much a public forum, not so much a public meeting in the sense of a public hearing where public would have their say. That's up to you if you choose to do that. But you need to have, for purposes of approval of a contract, just like you've done this evening with other things, that you have to just do this in a meeting that's properly called, all of that, and vote accordingly. Clearly, you have the authority, and that's why I referenced that there's a few weeks left in the current season, to continue, the status quo in the sense of the reliability or the reliances that you both, the St. John baseball and softball have, and the town has, and the park board has in relation to what's being done right now. So that obviously that's not, pulling the legs out from under anybody during these next couple of weeks. And as I said, to encourage to do something between now and, the spring to establish new contracts and whatever those terms are under current law as being your choice. That would have to be passed at a public meeting, yes. But I know there has been, discussion and requests that have come into the town to have meetings with you, to have public meetings, private meetings, et cetera, in trying to reach specific terms, whether that be with the baseball organization, the softball organization, or any other outside, renter. And I would defer to the board completely on, how you want to go about those negotiations, discussions. If you want me to, review the terms of the current leases specifically as to, the legality of those today and what recommendations would be on each of those, I can do that if the intention is to, as Joe had mentioned and Mike had mentioned of, reissuing these same contracts, I will, proceed as you propose in that respect.
But now is a sticking point for-profit / non-for-profit?
It will be.
Okay.
And the reason is because as as Heartland Park is referred to generally, it is actually a split of two parcels, one that is officially Heartland and one that is Silver.
Leaf.
Is that what it is? Silverleaf? Yes. Silverleaf is owned by the town. Heartland is owned by the parks. So these legalities, these legal descriptions, that's turns on some of the procedures and what can be entered into for each of these or who the parties are, et cetera. But those things can be worked out without question. It's just getting those things identified in a contract and getting to the proper legal descriptions, the proper identifications, the proper authorities for who can do what on each of these parcels. But as for the park board leasing town-owned property, that can only be to non-for-profits that if the contract is for use of the property without having to go through the bid process, that has to come through the park board then. If it's for a non-for-profit for, public purpose.
Okay. Do you have any other questions? Cindy, do you have any
No.
questions? Mike, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Here's my opinion. I will defer to your legal recommendation. That's my feeling. I also think that for Mike's question, there's no way we would interrupt what's going on currently now. We will finish the season, if that means running through the end of the year or whatever. But I think a discussion is gonna have to be, and we're going to probably have to sit down and kind of rework what we have so that it fits. And I'm sure there will be public comment towards that end. And I think we have to find time for that so that we have any and all people that are interested in understanding how this moves forward so that we have no issues moving forward that way. I guess a study session would be something that we should at least inquire and open it up for public comment and bring in people that may or may not have issues, questions, or whatever, so that we can iron some of that out and then perhaps then form a legal with what we are moving forward. Because I think there are some, when you talk about the bid process, when you talk about some of these other things, there are some open interpretations that I think probably would need to be clarified so that everyone understands, so that there is no blowback down the road because
Correct.
they didn't get it.
And I think that has to be the objective. This is for protection of you as park board members, for protection of the town, for protection of whoever you are contracting with, and obviously under these terms for Little League, St. John Youth Baseball, I'm sorry, and the girls softball that everyone is relying on and entering into and executing an agreement that has enforceability. And I can assure you, when there's lawsuits that are involved, especially when there's personal injury, liability, that's the first place, right? That's getting past any agreements and responsibilities that get to real liability. And that is obviously why you have legal counsel and protecting you on those things that are detrimental financially for taxpayer dollars as well as just the trust of the public. So in that regard, yes, I would highly recommend that it's something that you have the full consideration and that this board is really considering for those legal agreements and legal parameters so that you're not in a situation in the future that you realize that something's unenforceable when it's too late.
Okay. Well, like I said, my opinion is that we accept your recommendation, that these contracts are invalid, and that we look to schedule some sort of a study session / public meeting that we can talk about this and move forward in that light. Jason, can you pull up the October calendar for us? Let's take a peek at that a minute. See if we can find a date that'll work.
Don't pick the 19th.
No, I was thinking the 10th, a Tuesday.
No.
No?
That's Tuesday.
Okay.
I knew
I'm
that
okay
too.
with that.
That was the best.
Okay. Obviously not the 10th.
October?
Yeah.
What year am I on?
What about the 9th?
That Monday?
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Columbus Day,
Oh, is that Columbus Day or is it the 16th?
Indigenous Peoples' Day,
Indigenous Peoples' Day,
Oh,
the
okay.
9th, yeah.
whatever day that is.
Well, I like to stay away from the week of the 16th. A lot of things going on there. The 12th, that Thursday?
I'm out of town.
You're out
I'm
of
out of
town?
town too.
You're out of town too. Okay.
I might take that week off. It looks safe.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, unless you want to go earlier, like the
I
week
would
of the
really
16th.
like, I
Go
would
like
really
it.
like, Barb to get caught up a little bit on what's going on. I would really like public, in case they have questions or
Sure,
concerns,
yeah.
they have time to do that.
Well, and I think you want the parties here too, just so.
Correct. Yeah, obviously, we would like to have as many people here as possible. Obviously, we'll stay away from Friday. What about the Monday before the park board meeting, or do you want to have it at 4 o'clock of the park board meeting? Prior to, either the 23rd or the 24th.
Either one is fine. If we do it early, then, I mean, we could, if we're inviting those guys to come, the
Correct.
groups, they can
Well,
come early,
anybody,
sure.
any,
Or anybody,
any
yeah.
resident, right?
Give you enough time? Like, give you enough time?
Well, I think, I mean,
It's an hour if you're doing it right before.
yeah, that's the question. So should we give more time? Should we do it on the 23rd? At 5, so that we have enough time to,
Yes.
will that work for you, Cindy? Mike, will that work for you?
23rd's open.
Okay. Well, let's schedule something then for the 23rd at 5 o'clock. Does that work for everybody?
Yes.
Okay. And what we will do is, I will entertain a motion to accept council's, or not council, but legal's opinion on these contracts, that they are invalid, and that we will look to resolve that in a study session with public comment or public input on the 23rd of October at 5 o'clock.
I will make that motion.
I have a motion.
1 second.
Huh?
I won't second.
You won't second that, okay. So then we will not have that. Because we don't have a quorum here to, and if Mike won't second that, I understand.
It has to be a unanimous decision,
Right,
does it not, Nicole?
Because they have 3 present, yes.
Correct.
correct.
But I believe your motion is not to schedule the work session. Your motion didn't include scheduling the work session.
Yeah, it did, well, but it was first based on
Yeah.
accepting your recommendation. And I think that's what Mike has a problem with, correct?
Just to the recommendation, just because
I understand.
It just happened.
No,
I mean,
no,
is there more to this? Can we, like,
Okay.
is there any defense on this, or are we just totally what you said, which, that's how it is?
Okay.
I don't say that, to go through and
I understand.
meet that Monday. If that's what it is, we gotta make a new contract.
Well, we can push it into November.
Well,
That-
and
That's
to,
not a
to
problem.
Nicole's point, it's not something you have to, take action on.
That's my point. You don't need a motion as to, I mean, you asked for a legal opinion.
Right.
And,
You got it.
as I said, it's my recommendation is not that you void the contracts because that would take official action. My recommendation is that official action, or my legal opinion is that official action is not required because they are void. No action is taken. They're
still void.
they're void, correct, whether you accept it or don't. My legal opinion is that now, feel free to disagree. Can the parties still move forward and rely upon them? Sure, until they don't, until there's a problem, until it winds up in litigation. I mean, that's possible. But as for your ability to have a study session, my point is that one is not
Required with
required by the other. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So if it's
Are you
the
opposed to doing
situation.
that? At least talking about it, Mike?
You're like, no, not at all.
Okay. And getting a little bit more background and finding out where we're going with this, because, yeah, I mean, I think we're all a little,
Shell shocked?
well, I think we're all a little surprised on what this means and where we're headed. So, all right, so we'll make no recommendation on accepting legal's recommendation now. We'll defer that, and we'll deal with that maybe on the 24th at the actual board meeting, but can we still schedule? We're all good at 5 o'clock on that Monday to at least have a study session so that we can, for lack of a better word, have
Hash it out?
some banter on how we move forward? Because I truly think that some of the biggest complaints might be profit, nonprofit, and where that leads and some of that kind of stuff. And I think also, the fact that we have limited space for baseball and softball, a lot of our eggs are in one basket, so we have to be a little intelligent. Because at the end of the day, it's my opinion that the town comes first for any outside entities, but that's just me. So, that's how I feel about it.
That's why it's St. John Youth Baseball.
Right. But that's, and I'm good with that. So let's plan on that. Let's plan on the 23rd, a study session at 5 o'clock here. And we will hash some of that out. We will open it up to the public. We will allow them, like we do for any other public meeting, to have, public comment. I would like to have them sign up for that so that we kind of have an idea on what that's going to be all about. And we will listen to their, but obviously we'll take no action that day. We'll just be doing nothing more than gathering information. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Being that you're scheduling as a work session, yes, there isn't action that you could legally take.
Correct. Well, I just want to make sure that we do
Everybody's on the
our
same
due
board. Yep.
diligence and that people that may or may not have a comment one way or the other have their opportunity to express their opinion.
Absolutely. It'll just need to be advertised accordingly then.
Okay.
Yep, that's fine.
Is that enough time, Mike?
Oh, yeah, that's
Oh, yeah.
plenty of time.
Okay. All right, then I have nothing else on that. We'll move on to reports. Town council liaison report. Mike is not here, so we'll have no report from him. Town manager, Joe, anything you want to add?
Yeah, just real briefly, the fireworks contract for the Christmas in the Park is on the council agenda for tomorrow for approval, and that's all.
Okay.
And we did get the permit already.
And
just
we
so
did
you
get the permit?
Yes.
Okay. Any board members have any questions or concerns? Cindy?
No, I have none, thank you.
Okay. Mike?
No, I do not.
Neither do I. All right, so we will move to item 8, which is any and all.
The only thing, if the Gates Park, I sent you guys this information for the Gates Park. The walking path, I sent that, the cost estimate and all that. That does including the ditch and not including the ditch between the two of them. That we talked about the 5th of September. So I think we should make a motion then which one we should proceed with as far as bidding out and including in the bid. I know we talked about not including the ditch, which I think is the route to go.
Okay.
Our engineer had sent an email too about it too, which I'd forward everyone to see it. Obviously, it's a little less, not including the ditch, which is significant, I think. But then if we're going to go with that route, then we pretty much are just about set to go with the bid package.
Okay.
We just need to get the final approval from Lake County because of the block grant
Okay.
information.
So are you looking for a recommendation from us tonight to move forward with or without that ditch?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Any discussion on that? Cindy, you have an opinion? I agree with
Yeah, I agree.
that. I don't see the point of spending $50-some thousand for a ditch that may or may not solve a problem that may or may not arise.
And it was only temporary too. I mean,
Yeah,
once we
and
would
it's
start,
temporary. Yeah,
it would
I-
go away once we would do the
Well, I mean, so I will accept then a motion to accept the engineering plan as posted without the ditch and the cost that survives with that. And I will also give Superintendent O'Shea the permission to sign on an agreement pending legal looking at it and everything else going on, so that we have no questions about that. So that way we can get that moving forward, hopefully maybe even get it in this year. So that would be my
yeah, perfect.
recommendation.
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Cindy. Do I have a second?
I will second it.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor of that, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that'll pass, so we'll move forward with that. Anything else, Mike?
I did check my notes, just going back to the master plan proposal, but according to my notes, that park impact fee remaining balance should be $29,900.
Okay, for
Remaining
what
balance.
American Structure Point?
For what they've
did
billed
not-
so far, yes,
Okay.
yes. So I'll confirm that again, but that were my calculations showed.
Okay. And do we need to then, because we only had one bid and we did approve it, move
Yeah.
forward with that with them?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to do an RTP at the next meeting. I'll have to, send the Katie in the clerk's office, and they'll have to, obviously go through their process and stuff. but,
Absolutely.
So more than likely, we'll just probably have it on there again as an RTP, and then sign it.
Okay. Public comment? Number 9. Pat?
Real quick, I won't keep you guys real long. I did want to sort of go over a little bit of what we are doing, especially as we come up to the holiday season on the recreational side of things, programming and all that kind of stuff. So I think we are with both Mike and Rebecca. It's feels like we are doing a lot more than we have 3 people doing. But all of our programs from this point, as I was looking back at both the numbers that I got were from 2022. I couldn't really pull up numbers past 2022, but just to run through it, volleyball last year we had 176. This year was 218. Our summer camp, we can even go, the little ones was 24 kids. This year was 54. Our second crew there was 16. This year we had 50, and then we added even a new one with 14 kids, so we have a total of 118. And then this past weekend, our fishing derby. Last year, from what I saw, we had 78 registered, and this year we had 92 that were registered. If you were out there were probably more than 92 there. But what I just wanted to say, with everything that we have been doing, I wanted to thank the board. I wanted to thank the public. I wanted to thank everybody in St. John, because I do think it is a community effort here, and everything that we are doing is for the community. Even talking about with our sports programs. I mean, to sort of alleviate some of your worry, I will let a sport program go or fall to the wayside. So even if it does turn out where something happens, and St. John baseball is never going anywhere, St. John baseball, St. John softball, I don't think is going to go anywhere. So, I mean, our goal from day one has always been to get as much in front of people as possible, get as much as we can to the people and to the community, and for fairly cheap price, and if not free for everybody. So everybody, thank you, the board, thank you to the public. I think it's been a whirlwind of a journey, and I can't wait for the next couple months and everything that the holidays have to offer. So thank you guys.
We appreciate your effort too, yours and Rebecca's and Mike's for that matter. Okay. Anybody else with public comment? Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so we have a second. We are adjourned.